I'm Richard Porter.
I'm Jonny Smith.
And this is On the Other Side of Things, the Smith & Sniff spin-off in which we answer your questions. Can I start with a listener who signs off as Ken?
Okay.
Although their email address suggests that's not their name, but we'll run with it. They say, evening, gents.
Codename
I
Ken.
hear that successful car journos are buying pubs these days, but I reckon they're missing a trick. Well, yes, Jeremy's got a pub, and James May has a pub, so that is true. I don't know anyone else, but that's
well,
it.
I
His
guess
point stands.
Chris Evans, when he was presenting on Top Gear, he had a pub, or he still has one.
Yeah, I suppose so. Anyway, Ken says they're missing a trick. They should be going for a car brand themed boozer to guarantee a loyal clientele.
Oh.
My question to you is, if you were to open a car brand themed pub, what would it be? Your pub name must, and he's put that in bold, must be a car journo nickname for the brand. What'll it be, gents? Pull in the Chevette and Nova owners at The Griffin, or go upmarket with the three-pointed star.
Oh, these are good.
Here's Ken. As an aside, I'm sure I've been guilty of this over the years. It slightly makes my eyes itch when people do that sort of, here's the other way of referring to this car company.
Yes.
It's sort of like that brilliant Twitter account, Second Mentions, which picks up on usually newspaper journalists. So they'll sort of go, China has announced the birth of a new giant panda. The black and white ursine lovelies or something like that, and they'll refer to they won't say panda again because it's like, that's repetition.
Because they don't want to.
But when people avoid repetition of car makes by going, the blue and white propeller.
Oh, yeah.
It bugs me. Or
it is annoying, isn't it?
It's when they use the hometown of the car maker as a synonym for its name.
I can't bear that.
Ferrari has just announced the new Testarossa. Maranello says it will be available, and you just go, Maranello doesn't say anything. It's a fucking town.
No, exactly.
You mean Ferrari say that? You try and construct the sentence more artfully so it doesn't feel repetitive to say their name again.
It was always Hethel.
Yes.
Hethel referring to Lotus annoyed me because Norfolk is a far enough away place for most people to understand anyway. Then going in deeper to the name of a village which most people in Norfolk haven't been to. Why would you bother? Why would you do that?
Also, they've been thrown off a bit with some companies. Like Jaguar always used to be, Browns Lane admits that the car is delayed. And you go, again, it's just a street where their HQ happens to be. But, of course, they're not there anymore. So now JLR has to be... Gaydon says that, but at the same time, it's like, well, but they are also... They have a facility in Whitley in Coventry. Is that how? Oh, never mind. Whereas
Gaydon's friend Whitley has said,
yes, Gaydon and Whitley, and then it sounds like a crime-fighting duo from some Sunday night.
Well,
show.
maybe that's the name of your pub,
the Gaydon and Whitley.
Yeah,
I suppose so.
The Lane of Brown.
Gaydon Whitley also sounds like it could be, a friend of 60s man.
60s man. I remember very, very much Whitley and Gaydon. We took a lovely walk down Brown's Lane. That's not a euphemism. Please don't go there. It's disgusting. Yes,
I sense that Ken's tongue is in his cheek here, and so because I suppose the other options, apart from the two that he mentions, that there's the Blue Oval.
The Blue Oval is, of course, the obvious, and actually that could work nicely. That could work.
It's
really
weird how
nicely.
I find these terms slightly annoying in car magazines and websites, but they are quite good names for pubs. The Griffin. There was a pub called the Griffin in London, which I think was famous for having sort of cheap strippers on.
Oh, nice.
It was a boozer. I've never been, I hasten to add.
Good value strippers is one of my favourite things.
I mean, this was probably 25 years ago, but I was told that it was just a regular boozer, but then a woman would come onto a little stage and take her clothes off, and then she would come round with a pint glass and you would put 50p in it.
Wow. Okay.
Classy.
Yeah. I don't know what to say to that.
But yeah, the blue oval. What else could you have? Because
what about the flying bee?
The flying bee, yes.
Yeah, but obviously not a creature, just the capital letter.
The prancing horse is an obvious one, I suppose.
Yes, the prancing. Yes, the angry bull.
I was going to say, do people say anything? Because Lamborghini, obviously, but then how do you describe that bull? The raging bull, the angry bull? I don't know.
Yeah.
Bastard
bull.
I think I might have done this once on Sniff Petrol to sort of take the piss out of people who go, the blue oval, the three-pointed star, was to try and describe the Alfa Romeo logo.
It's the snake really consuming the man, isn't it?
Yes. Or a boy, some people say. And then there's a cross and some other bits.
Boy eating
snake. Or the Porsche
snake.
logo. The Porsche logo is very complicated.
Yeah, it is. It's actually not a very good logo. I'm not that fond of it because Porsche traditionally had made quite simple cars that just did the job well, and that was what was satisfying about them. The logo seems very fussy indeed.
Yeah, it's true. We're sort of used to it, aren't we? But I suppose it like I always think a good logo is one that you could have a stab at drawing by hand and it would be recognisable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's not the Porsche logo.
Do you know what?
You're very good at drawing.
What about if you combined the Lamborghini logo and the Toyota logo? Because one of them's a bull and one of them's also possibly a bull. The Toyota T with it's a vertical oval and a horizontal oval overlapping, isn't it?
Yeah.
So is it like a Taurus? It was always like a bull and horns type thing, wasn't it? Or am I making that up?
I think you're making that up. I thought it was just a sort of stylised T.
Oh, really? I've just totally made that up. Wow.
I don't, because there's no, what's Toyota's connection to bulls?
I don't know. They're like strong and dependable. Like an
well made, yeah. They're very reliable bulls, yeah.
Ox thing.
I don't know. I can't think, because there's certain companies that have sort of escaped this treatment, like Volvo.
Yeah.
What they will do, of course, is go... Gothenburg admits that the car will now be on sale in 2027, but they don't ever do, like, the circle with an arrow coming out of it.
I wish they did. That would really tickle me. I like that. I'm looking at the
Land Rover referred to as the green oval.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Of course, Jaguar, the leaping cat.
Yes. Oh, now that's a very good. Or the Growler.
The Growler. That's what my pub's going to be called, the Growler.
Your pub's called the Growler. There'll be someone that goes around with a pint glass full of pound coins, and then something will happen.
There we go. What would you go with?
I don't know. I'm getting bogged down in lots of logos now. But so you've got the original Datsun logo with the sort of rising sun behind the slogan, which is a popular pub name already. Yeah, I don't know. For some reason I'm fixated with International Harvester. I really like that logo.
Just the International Harvester.
Yeah.
Although actually, no, hang on a minute. It might sound like an infringement on another pub chain. I've just realised.
Yes, but this one's international, so it says, screw you, local harvester, you loser.
Take your parochial carvery and shove it.
Yeah, that's right.
What if you did just call your pub the Rising Sun and you catered towards JDM enthusiasts?
We did sushi.
Sushi.
It's a sushi pub.
Alcohol-free sake for people who are driving.
Yes.
And a lovely katsu curry for Sunday lunch.
I think you've answered my question for me, Richard. Thank you for that. Much appreciated.
Someone will write in now and say that katsu curry is not, in fact, Japanese.
Oh,
I think it is. Actually,
I think it is.
It is, but I've read the story about this. The reason it came about is because of the British basically are responsible for spreading curry spices around the world because of our colonial past with India. The British went to India, discovered curry, discovered it was delicious and could make food more interesting.
Yeah.
And then exported it around the world. Currywurst is the same thing. Currywurst comes from Second World War, I think. British soldiers bringing curry powder into the country.
And then just dipping sausages in.
Yeah, I think katsu curry came from sort of sailors bringing curry powder to Japan when they were just merchant shipping, and everyone went, "Oh, this is good."
Well, I think we've answered that really comprehensively.
A bit too comprehensively,
yeah,
if anything,
too.
but hey,
and
thanks, Ken.
Yeah, I'm going to go on to a question from Pat Brown off of Suffolk. Hi, you pair of pork swords. Listening to the podcast the other day, Jonny announced that he'd inherited some top trump cards to pass on to Richard. Richard sounded surprised by this, suggesting that even though you were recording a podcast together, Richard had no idea how Jonny was going to start the show. I wondered whether this was done for dramatic effect or whether you pair have had absolutely no communication prior to the show. On the subject of the questions you were not expecting, I was sitting with my 9-year-old son a few days ago, and for reasons I will not delve into, a picture of Shirley Bassey in a boiler suit came up on my phone. Upon which my son asked, "Is that Michael Jackson?" Anyway, thanks for always making me chuckle and keep up the work. I mean, the Shirley Bassey being in a boiler suit being Michael Jackson. I think the Shirley Bassey in a boiler suit was that iconic sketch from those two old comedians who I've completely forgotten the name of, who used to be on at Christmas. Not the two Ronnies. Morecambe and Wise, yeah. I think that's where that stems from, because I think she ripped her skirt or did something and they put her in a boiler suit at the end of the show. But, so... to answer your question, Patrick, off of Suffolk.
It's like, it's a sort of sweetly naive question, as if you think that anything of this was planned or discussed in advance. I mean, you've heard it. It's an absolute shambles.
Well, that's what I'd like to reiterate to listeners, is that we don't plan this. Like, we write down, we at best, we write down a couple of observations or thoughts or prompts I write them in my phone, Richard will write them in his phone. He won't show them to me, and I won't show mine to him. And we're lucky if we phone one another at the time we say we're going to, let alone anything else. We focus so hard on making sure that we're recording it at the right level so that it sounds okay audibly. That's as far as we get. And then everything else is just completely winged, isn't it?
Yes.
It's totally winged.
Yes.
And don't be surprised, because obviously you've heard it, you know how shambolic it is. So, yeah, we have no idea what we're going to really talk about or how long each subject's going to dwindle. Sometimes I say something and I think it's going to be a chuck away anecdote and it becomes the main conversation of the show, or we come back to it week after week for whatever reason. Like, I don't know, the clown, the effing C clown, or Prelude 2.2, or on that side of things, or Marillion.
You make a throwaway remark and the next thing you know, it's on a T-shirt. Quite.
So that's the truth of it, Mr. Brown off of Suffolk.
Thanks for asking, but no, as Jonny said, we don't plan any of this. And so when last week was it, you said been given some top trumps, first I'd heard of it. Yeah. So
and I've actually put a picture of it on our Instagram, because Richard hasn't seen them yet. So
no, actually, when you sent me those pictures after we'd recorded, I was quite surprised by the cover of those top trumps, which was, if anything, sort of even more dreary than I expected.
They are. Yeah, they are.
I was going to move on to a question from a listener called Paul McCarthy, who says, "Dear Flutes, I was recently reminiscing with my wife about the fact you don't ever see men on TV ripping telephone directories in half as a show of strength."
No.
But it's true, actually.
That's true.
Like that was a thing you used to see quite a bit.
Because there's no directories anymore.
Yeah, well, that's what Paul says. He says, presumably this is a result of the transfer from analogue to digital. Who needs yellow pages anymore? With this in mind, what do you think has been lost in the same respect on the automotive side of things?
Oh, what's been lost? Well,
tearing phone books in half was just one of those things that sort of feels like it was on the TV quite a lot
Yeah.
in the 80s, probably in the 70s as well.
I think some stuff is, if you're talking about kind of like show of strength or prowess in the automotive world, I think the in-car audio world is still around, but obviously because manufacturers fit really good quality audio systems to their cars, because they collaborate with, I don't know, Bose and Harman Kardon, Mark Levinson, you name it. Cars have got surround sound in them now. But rewind time, and cars came with really crap in-car entertainment system, real dog's mess, paper cones, door speakers, and twin knob radios. So the prowess was sometimes to say, oh, I've added a graphic equalizer, I've added a CD player and a tape deck, or an amp and some subs, and it's got a 6-speaker system, and it only came with 2. So there was a real nerdy world, and of course you'd proclaim your absolute dominance over others by listening to high quality loud music.
Yes.
And showing it off. So, and that's why the whole theft thing became prevalent, because obviously people knew cars were packing expensive audio. So I miss that, and I think that's lost a little, although retro audio seems to be having a bit of a renaissance. So what else?
Well, I wonder also if things that once seemed to be commonplace, like seat covers.
Oh,
it felt like lots of, maybe it's because car seats were made of crappier stuff and they wore out more quickly. Maybe, I don't know, but it felt like a lot of people, in fact, would put seat covers on quite new cars to keep the seats nice.
Yeah.
For, I don't know, when they sold it or whatever, but you'd see sort of visibly fluffy non-factory seat covers in regular cars.
There was one in a recent barn find I did of that, like one in a Saab. It had leopard print seat covers, really quilty, plush ones, and the lady apparently put them on the car when it was new, and they'd never been off. They're
perfect case in point, and I just can't imagine anyone would do that now. And I wonder if it's because car seats have got better, and so there's less, and more durable maybe, and so there's less need to do it. I don't know if it's purely a fashion thing as well. It would just look sort of dated doing it.
It would.
I'm not sure.
What about added lights? There was an added lights thing.
Yes.
People used to add lights because presumably the standard headlights were crap. So
yeah, that's it. I wonder a lot of this has been driven away by the fact that cars generally have just got better in quite subtle but important ways that you don't need to kind of finish the job yourself. But
yeah,
I also, it's probably a bad time to be someone who makes aftermarket wheel trims. Because relatively few cars now have wheel trims. Alloys have become a thing on all but the most very basic cars.
Yeah, which is why I think we miss Steels. I think that's why we've gone full circle.
But then,
like nerdy people, I mean.
Yes, the thing is I always thought that most aftermarket wheel trims made you realise how much car designers earn their money, because they didn't really work. The designs didn't quite suit the car somehow, in the way that the factory trims would. But obviously the factory trims, you've got to go to a dealer and they're probably like £100 a pop or something stupid. And you could just get, a whole set of 4 from Halfords for a lot less than that. But yeah, they didn't quite sit. They didn't work, did they? Somehow. You could spot them a mile. You do still see them around, but I don't think that there was probably in the 80s and 90s, there was probably a boom time to be an aftermarket wheel trim seller.
I'm trying to think. No, I like wheel trims, and I also think really people are finally, in nerdy circles, certainly, first of all, the unexceptional circles, they're finally realising that some wheel trims were actually really well designed and quite cool. And because they've all but gone, and everything, like you say, is alloy, suddenly steel wheel, everyone goes, oh, I'd quite like to put steels on that. And I'm sure that's why I like steels, because everything's got alloys, and most alloys are quite average and disappointing.
I think there's a sort of simple functionality to a bare steel wheel if it's done right. probably, with a centre cap, so it doesn't just look like your trim's fallen off. But it just sort of seems no nonsense, doesn't it? And I think that's appealing and very classical, because the design of steel wheels is usually very, very simple. So, better that than a fancy but ultimately quite horrible alloy.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
One more that popped into my mind is the rubber strips hanging from the back of cars, supposedly to reduce car sickness, I think.
Oh, the earthing strips.
The claim earthing strips, yeah.
Yes, I do remember the earthing strips.
In the 80s, once you'd finished watching a man tearing a phone book in half on the telly, you'd walk outside and you could almost instantly see a car with them on. It felt like they were everywhere.
I remember that, and I remember those little those fingers, plastic fingers that you used to stick onto the boot lid to make it look like you'd slam someone's fingers in the boot lid.
Oh, yes.
Do you remember those? They were deeply 80s.
Yeah, but that's something from the 80s that has definitely gone away, is funny, in inverted commas, things to put on your car. The trapped fingers, stickers in the back window that, my other car's a Porsche and stuff.
Garfield on suckers.
Wasn't there? You could get one where it was a man, and when you squeezed an air bulb on a pipe, it made him drop his trousers to show his arse.
I have tried to find one of those for. Actually, I was going to give it to you for a birthday. They are so rare, rare. Yeah, they are so rare. They used to called something like Mr. Fatty Bums or something like that. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, honestly.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, because he wore a T-shirt and his head was facing the other way, wasn't it? Because he was looking back with a cheeky grin on his face.
Yes, that's right. God.
I know.
That's it. There was a lot of comedy accessories for cars for a while. And
was it Mr. Mooney Man? Was it Mr. Mooney Man?
Well, that would make sense.
Yeah.
What kind of money do they go for?
Well, I saw one that went for several £100.
What?
Yeah, what? Believe.
Oh, my God.
I know. And they're not really around, so it's quite hard to find one. You got me thinking now. Maybe I'll have another look.
Anyway, there we go.
Trousers down.
Canter through history there.
I've got a question here from long-time Patreon Fergus MacGyver, and visitor of our events and Late Break Show events as well. Dear Flautists, I have a troublesome American RV, the one that was parked near your stage at Festival of the Unexceptional 2024, if you remember, and it's forever breaking down with a new fault. I think I called it the kidnap van. Yeah. One time, it broke down on our way home from Retro Rides weekender at Goodwood. The ignition amplifier had failed. Ever hopeful, I joined the Mopar Muscle Association UK Facebook group while I was broken down at the side of the road near Petworth. And and I made a plea to the community for help. Within minutes, someone had replied to me saying they live 15 minutes away and they would deliver a spare ignition amplifier to me to help me on my way. I was utterly amazed, and I was touched by the kindness and good spirit of the classic car community to help a fellow motorist in a time of need. What's the most generous and selfless act you've ever witnessed in the greater car community? Cheers, Fergus. Oh, I've said your name wrong again. It's Fergus McKeever. McKeever. Sorry, Fergus. So that's a very good one, because I've known some very, very selfless acts, and people that just go above and beyond just to help someone and keep a car on the road and all of that kind of stuff. There's a wonderful camaraderie. You've got me. I can't think of one off the top of my head. I know. Oh, yes. I know someone who I had a problem with the Dodge. It was Mopar related, actually. That's really good. Mopar related. I had an issue and I bought a new part and it didn't seem to solve the car's problem. I think we'd ascertained that it needed a type of part that was not really remanufactured anymore. And a guy in the States who was on the forum said, I've got one. I've been keeping it for a spare for my car. but it sounds like you're in a moment of need. And he said, it's only really light. He said, you can have it, just pay the postage. So because it was small, I kind of got it UPS'd 36 or 48 hour delivery to me, and he didn't want anything. He just wanted I'm just glad that I'm glad I've hoarded it for this long because it's helped somebody, and it's justified me probably having it in a cupboard for 10 years. And I'm a bit like that. I'm at that point in my life where I've got things in cupboards that I've had for ages, and I think, if I can help somebody, then at least it's that handing on, or whatever they call it.
Handing down,
it's passing it on, isn't it? Passing a good deed on, and then it ultimately is cyclical, and the good deeds will come back to you if you pass them on, and it's treating you others like you want to be treated, and all of that simple stuff. So that's what it's about, and I'm a big fan of it. I'm a big fan of it indeed.
It's a sort of version of. Do you remember they used to, maybe they still do, advertise Patek Philippe watches with the "You never own of Patek Philippe, you merely take care of it for the next generation."
Oh yeah, yes. I always thought it was a bit wanky, but
it's a little bit wanky, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a little. It's a one where I think a chap was sitting on it in a chair and looking at it because there's a kid on his lap, presumably one of his kids, and the kid's staring at the bezel of the watch, transfixed by its beauty. But the other thing, I know something happened. I was on a big charity road trip in India in a Hindustan ambassador, and we had a big puncture, and we'd already lent our spare tyre to another person on the rally because they had a puncture before we did, and we didn't know what to do. And these two chaps pulled up on mopeds. I've probably told you this story before, but these two chaps pulled up on mopeds on their way to work. They communicated to us, and they said, we know a guy who runs a tyre shop like about 10 minutes from here. We'll take it for you. And they took the wheel off with us. They insisted on helping us take the wheel off. We didn't have all the tools we needed. The guy put it under his arm on a step-through scooter.
Bloody hell.
And rode off with a wheel and tyre under his arm, and came back like half an hour later. We were starting to think, do you think he's ever going to come back? He came back with a second-hand tyre that was good enough. And he didn't want any money for it. And this chap didn't look like the wealthiest bloke around. He did not want any money for it. He was actually a little bit offended. So in the end, we just down the road, we saw there was someone selling food at the side of the road. So we basically bought him breakfast and his friend breakfast. And he said, "Oh, it's fine." And the tyre was. It was great, but I was amazed by the generosity. I was totally amazed by it. It was really lovely.
I think particularly it feels like the world is in a very turbulent state at the moment for various reasons, and it's always nice to hear just stories of genuine human kindness.
Absolutely.
For simply for the reason of being kind and generous in spirit. So that's lovely. I feel like I've heard various stories like this over the years, and I can't immediately think of a specific one, but I think this is probably quite a good one to throw out to listeners and ask for their experiences of
a great
generosity within the car community, because I know that there are lots of examples. hello@smithandsniff.com if you've got a story to share with us. We'd love to hear them. If you've got a question for this Friday spin-off show, it's also the same email address. Put Otosot in the subject line if it's a question. Don't bother if it's not. It just helps us to sort them, because we are a shambles.
We are.
We'll do this all again next
truth.
Friday. They'll be back for a regular show on Monday. Until then, goodbye.
Bye, everybody.